in my head, they're cheering me on. They may all be running for their lives. When we used to street race back when I was younger, it was on the Garden State Parkway, right by the border of New York and New Jersey. And it actually sounds perfect, right? It's like right as you cross into the border. So this is a little vestigial arm of the highway that doesn't really serve a purpose for either state to patrol. Jersey's a quarter mile that way, and New York, like, why would they come down to loop around and turn? It just doesn't make any sense to patrol there. But it was a popular street racing spot. There's the police turnaround right next to the starting line. And then the sign, the big, like, New York State Thruway, 1 mile away, was exactly like a quarter mile down the road. So it was actually perfect. You drive by there even to this day, you just see a burnout box. You see all the tire marks and everything where people still stage. And it was quiet. There's nothing really around. There's no cross traffic. So it is genuinely like a good spot to street race if you have to select a spot. And I remember I was out in my Corvette and I was lining up to race somebody. And when you street race, like, you got people like all over the place. You're a spectacle. So you go through this like negotiation. Everybody, oh, it's $1,000 race because everybody throws in $20. You get people that line up. There's cars all up the shoulder. It's not the safest thing. Like, you shouldn't be drag racing with cars 10 feet to your right. You have cars lining the shoulder. You got cars, like the flood of cars behind you. So you have this buffer from the actual traffic that comes along, and then the cars in the back put their flashers on. So like the traffic coming up sees them. And then you stage the race. You get somebody that comes out from a car that's right behind the two, gets out, flags it, and you're off to the races. So we come out, and then next thing you know, I see like a car coming in the opposite direction. I'm like, this could be a cop. And then he turns into the no U-turn, which is right next to me, and you see the stripe, the state police stripe on the side of the car. And you're like, whoop, that's not good. There's a mass of cars. You got 60 cars like pent up behind me. There's cars lining the shoulder that like this guy is just gonna like go and get the easier guy. But right now, the cop turns on his lights, and I was like, all right, cool, we'll just start rolling out. And then he starts coming, and I'm like, he doesn't want one of those guys, I guess. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. Because like, all I know is we just had the road shut down for 2 minutes, and I've got nothing but clear highway ahead of me. So I'm ripping, and guess who's ripping right behind me? State trooper car. So the people that are still lined up by the finish line see my vet screaming by. 8 seconds later, the cop cars, everyone's like I'm in my head, they're cheering me on. They may all be running for their lives. I'm out. Like, this guy's got to give up. Like, you should just go get somebody else. Like, I figure when I'm at 150 miles an hour, he's going to be like, all right, you know what? Like, Snake starting on an Apache, sir. And like, the more separation I have, the more deniability I have that you must be thinking of somebody else once he loses sight of me. So I come on the highway. I'm going, let's just say eastbound on 287. And sure enough, like, another cop comes, lights screaming up onto the highway. I'm like, all right, it's on now. Like, this is like full blown like O.J. Simpson stuff. Light traffic. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. It's not early by any stretch. And there was a car in the center lane. There was a car in the right lane. And I'm going 140, 150 miles an hour and just coming up, whizzing past people. Next thing you know, the car in the center lane just dips into the left lane for no reason. And I'm doing 150, and I now have an impediment right in front of me. So here I was full brake. When I say full brake, you're talking like panic stop, trying to brake that thing into a turn. So I'm now like turning, and I remember squeaking by this guy, and I was like, holy shit, why the hell there's nobody on the road, there's nobody in front of him, there was no reason. Because you look what other people would do to predict where you're going to go. Like, all right, this guy may go around. But there was nobody in front of him. So I passed him at probably 120 or 130, like full brake, switching lanes. And then it was just back onto the accelerator after that because there was nobody in front of him. So then I took a horseshoe, got off that highway, got off another local exit. So now I'm like 3 or 4 turns away. And I went to my buddy's house, who was also there racing with me. And I left my car in his driveway and took his Lexus home. And it was just like, all right, we got away with that one. And I didn't go back to that racing spot for a minute. My car was like, it didn't have student driver in the back. It was just like a dark Corvette at that point in time. There was a bunch of Corvettes that came up. After that, I got a little Roadrunner sticker that I put on on the rear window that was about as telling as I could have. But they're like, dude, for hours they all went back to the parking lot. The cops are like looking in the trees with spotlights and everything like that, and I'm like, okay, I'll chill out for a little bit. The next like time or two that I went up, I didn't even bring the Corvette, and then it just seemed like, all right, they're over it. And now I don't recommend running from cops, but if you're gonna run from cops, I would recommend getting off the road as soon as possible, because once they lose sight of you and you can get off the road, it's your best chance of getting away. Staying on the same road allows them to come get you, shut down the road, spike strips. Like every time you see like these police chases where they're just eternally on highways, you got to get off the highway and you got to essentially ditch the car for the most part. Even if you do get arrested, you can't prove who was driving. You can't prove it was the same car because they lost sight of it. So now maybe with modern day technology, they'll be able to enhance traffic cameras and everything and be like, this is you right here. Another time when I successfully evaded was my buddy Emil got a GT3, a 997 GT3. And he's like, oh, I'm going to come over and show you my new car. I was like, all right, cool. So my Corvette was parked outside. And he's like, yeah, come on down. I come down, and he's like in the passenger seat with the door open and the driver's seat's like wide open. I'm like, I like where this is going. And I'm like, oh, Danny, I'm going out and my buddy Danny lived in the building. I'm going out in Emil's car. You want to like come out with us? He didn't have anything. I'm like, yeah, drive my vet. Like, he's one of the few people I would let drive my vet. And there's this like bus stop underneath an overpass there. And I like start to get on the throttle, but I see like a cop coming off behind us. I start to get on the throttle like, oh, cop, but Danny doesn't see him. And he's in my vet, which was supercharged and loud as at the time. And like onto the tunnel, and like, oh, not good. Cops' lights go on. I'm like, all right, let me just get out of here and I'll let him deal with that, because like I don't want to be involved in that stuff. So like I start picking up speed to like get some distance between me and him, thinking he's going to get pulled over. And the cop, if he can get in front of both of us, will pull us both over. But if I can get enough distance, he's just going to take him. And Danny's just like, oh, we're speeding up. So he just like starts following me. I'm like, oh, shit, I guess we're out. So I'm just jumping highway to highway to highway, 80 and then 17, and I'm ripping through, and I just see Danny behind me. I'm like, all right, this is happening right now. Like the two of us, we're like Smokey and the Bandit. You weren't expecting a police chase in the first like day of ownership of your GT3, but like it's happening. I end up looking in my rearview mirror, and cloud of smoke comes out of my Corvette, and I'm like, whoop, sucks to be him. And it just like smoke pouring out, and I'm like, that sucks. So I get off, I pull behind like a Home Depot, and I'm like, oh shit, like Danny's screwed. Like he's gonna be like evading, locked up, whatever, because like the car just broke. And sure enough, he like pulls in behind me. I'm like, what are you doing? Like the belt snapped on the supercharger and like broke off an oil line. So it was just like a big plume of white smoke all over the place. I'm like, turn the car off. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And he's like, oh, it's like, well, why are you driving so fast? I'm like, you didn't see the cop? And he didn't even see the cop. He's like, no. I'm like, dude, we were just running from the police. My vet broke while running from the cops. We both ended up getting away. We dipped behind Home Depot. I came with a tow truck and pulled my car, or trailer, and pulled my car out of there. But it was an adventurous story. It was a lot of fun. But then there's times where you think you should run, but you shouldn't. And one of those times was when we were on the bull run, same Danny, but he was in his Corvette at the time. He bought a Mallet C6 supercharged Corvette, which was quite fast. He and I were racing. We were going from Lake Havasu to San Diego. There's nowhere to go. He's like, hey, we've been cruising at 200. I'm like, all right, let's do 200. So I brought it up to like 180 or 190, and I was waiting for him to come by to see that his Corvette can go over 200 miles an hour. And we were at this for like a while, just playing around on the highway, 150 and plus for a long time. And sure enough, we come up on like a cop. I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's not good. So we just keep going, because like, what are you gonna do? And then we see another cop up in the median, and we like slow way down. We're like, oh, like, what are we gonna do now? Like, they're gonna shut down the road. So we accept our fate. Cop comes behind us, lights on, and I was a little bit of a dick because he came behind me first, and I'm like, you know what, maybe we could like talk our way out of it. So I like sort of brake checked him when he was like pulling me over, and he like drove into the dirt to avoid hitting the Ford GT. And we're like, oh, we're totally going to jail. Like, 194 miles an hour, and it was just like, and luckily I think what saved us here that we got away with only a ticket is that we were going to be on the same road for a while, and the other cop that we passed was so far back that it may have been different jurisdictions or something like that, so that guy didn't come to go deal with us, because it may have been, maybe there was another call, maybe his shift was over, like something happened that this guy could only write us on what he saw. So we had a police scanner in the car, and when he walked up to the window, Noah had the camera in his face. So he's like, "Can I help you with something?" And I'm like, "Okay, that's about what I expected. It's better than a gun." There's no conversation at this point in time. The guy was annoyed as shit. And he went back to his car, and we hear on the scanner, we didn't get the inbound. We only got the outbound scanner traffic. I don't know why. But effectively, we heard him reading our licenses. We heard him reading everything. And when we heard the phrase, they were code blue when I saw them, we didn't know what that meant. But we assumed that, all right, code blue, that's either good or bad. And he's like, "But we'll get them down the road because they're on their way to San Diego and they're racing." We're like, "All right, we are in the clear." And that was one of the hugest weights lifted off our shoulder. We were I'm like, "Here, take my wallet. You got the bail money here." We were implementing emergency action plan, thinking that we were on a one-way trip to jail. And luckily we got away with it. So that was a fun one.